All right, Jeanelle, I'm really excited about this. I appreciate you carving out the time. If it's okay with you, I'd love to start a little bit from the beginning. What did your parents do for a living? And I'm curious, how did that maybe impact some of the decisions that you've made?
I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. Some of my earliest examples of business were from watching the incredible work ethic from my parents. So I grew up a first generation Filipino American. My parents, like so many other immigrants, came to America just in pursuit of a better life. And I watched them build together this dental practice that my mother ended up scaling and eventually retiring herself. And in this dental practice was my very first job at 9 years old. And my job during the summer was to answer phones and talk to patients. And that was really my earliest lessons in communication, speaking up, being clear, making people feel comfortable. And now in hindsight that I'm a parent myself, it became clear to me that my mom didn't have a childcare option when I was out of school, but that was my first job. And it really taught me two things. One, just the power of working really hard towards your goals and being able to achieve them. My parents literally designed a new life in the US. And I was also witness to them working together as a team. And they were my first team. I refer to them as my first team. It was just my brother and I and my parents. And that family unit was really strong, gave me so many examples in business and now also in my own family life. But yeah, born and raised in Sacramento, California to a entrepreneurial family, the foundation in which I built my entire life from.
What a great kind of first job. I often ask people like, what, because I just think there's so much we can learn from our first jobs. Mine was like help, like my parents had restaurants. And so I would,
Yeah.
be in this sort of public setting. But to help them in the family business, I imagine those communication skills you can still draw upon.
I had so much anxiety, Omaid, when I would have to answer the phone. I was just thinking they're going to know that I'm just a kid. What if I don't know the question? But it really taught me this fundamental lesson of if you are confident, the other person on the line is not going to doubt you. They don't know that you're 9 years old. I mean, they might know that you're young, but I still remember the script and how I answered the phone. And my mom said, "No, you can do it. Answer the phone, ask them what they need. What is the problem that you're looking to solve?" And that was instrumental to me being a confident communicator now in the boardroom, on stage, in podcasts. I draw upon those same butterflies that I got when I was 9 years old and my mom made me answer the phones. But it taught me so much about the power of clear, concise communication.
That's awesome. Is there a lesson that stands out from your parents that you hope, or maybe you already have instilled in your kids if you have kids?
I have two kids, and my parents had always really raised my brother and I with this mentality of why not you? Okay, you want to go to business school? Why not you? Go ahead, go for it. You want to get into one of the hardest global companies to get into? Go ahead, go for it. Why not you? If you want to go for this job that's just a little bit too big for you, why not you? And it just gave me this conviction of the world will tell you so many reasons anyways that you can't do it. You're not good enough, you're not educated enough, you're too young, you are not as experienced. And so I have always just watched my parents just say, okay, this is what we want to do. Why not us? We can do it. We can be the first to open a dental practice in this area. And so they gifted me this conviction. And so now with my own children and how I raise them, they're starting to have their own interests. And I just okay, you want to do that? Go for it. Let's do this. And so it was one of the greatest gifts that they gave me as parents.
That's awesome. Um, you mentioned working for a big company, and I wanted to talk about taking risks for a second.
Hmm.
Um, I'm curious, what attracted you to Bugaboo about 4 years ago? Like, how did you
Mhm.
make that decision? Because I know the company's been around for a while, but I think there's a level of risk inherently going from a company you've been at for almost a decade that's,
Yes.
not going to go anywhere, into maybe a space that's new to you and obviously a smaller company. Like, how did you make that transition and why?
Let me take myself back to in that mindset 4.5 years ago when I was really happy at Nike. We were just riffing about sports before we started to hit record. Loved the sports industry. Fitness has been such a big part of my life. I think it was really two things. I think one, the affinity with the category. So when the opportunity for Bugaboo came, it was this perfect intersection of my personal life. I had just had my son, so I was completely immersed in this new parent mentality. I completely understood the mindset, the market landscape, the brand opportunity, where they were going to research and to buy for stroller brands. So I had a newborn son at home. So it
You're
was
in it. You're the target.
I was in it.
Yeah, you're the
I
avatar.
mean,
Yeah.
the first interview I had, even with the recruiter, I remember I didn't sleep the night before. I was completely in this newborn stage. But one, where I was in my personal life, and then two, professionally, the lane and the runway that I was on, which was this general management lane. And it was just the perfect intersection of, okay, I understand the market opportunity here, and then two, I have something that I could bring. I could draw on all of these experiences of being a part of a huge global brand and grow this brand and speak to parents around the country that are just like me. And I think it also helped that I had spent almost 10 years in the Netherlands myself, where Bugaboo is a household name, and it was had so much familiarity and so much strength. And so I understood, okay, now being based in New York City, I don't see that many Bugaboos, but I should, because people here care about design and innovation and having the highest quality stuff. And so it just felt like if I was going to take a risk, this was a perfect intersection of two areas of my life coming together. That was 4.5 years ago, and it's the best decision that I've made professionally and personally. I'm so happy.
I didn't. So tell me about the like what took you to the Netherlands, because that's definitely, I imagine, such a, knowing the culture, especially of a parent company and how they operate.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was invaluable.
Yeah. So I think it was Steve Jobs who said this quote of, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And now that I look back on my life, it makes so much sense that I'm working for a Dutch design company in North America. So even though I was born and raised in Sacramento, California, a small suburb called Elk Grove, I knew inherently that I wanted to see the world. Specifically, I wanted to have this career where I would get on airplanes and travel. I don't know why I had that calling at such a young age. I was in second grade, but that was just my earliest intuition. And for me, education was the way that I was able to get my start. So I moved to Barcelona, bought a one-way ticket to go to grad school, and that decision changed my life. I moved to Spain. I ended up meeting the man that would eventually become my husband, and he said to me, "Hey, let's move to the Netherlands together." And I thought, well, I have always wanted to live abroad. Let me move from Barcelona to Amsterdam, and that was where I joined Nike, Nike European headquarters, and that job took me all around Europe for work, and I was literally living my childhood dreams.
Wow.
And that job then took me to New York City to become the general manager of Nike Women's in New York. And then shortly thereafter, that's when I joined Bugaboo. And so there was also just this deep understanding of Dutch culture and how to move within a European-based company, because I had spent so much time in the Netherlands. I think that also helped during my whole process to join the brand.
It's almost like, people say the best way to learn a language is to move there and figure it out, right? Move
Yeah,
to France and you'll learn it pretty quickly. That's incredible. I didn't know that. That's kind
right.
of like,
Yeah.
that's like a little bit of like serendipity. Yeah, it just came full
I'm
circle.
So a couple years later, one of the board members had said, when I was deep into the role now, he was joking. He was like, it's like we wrote you in AI and out you came. So it was a perfect match. Like, new mom, lived in the Netherlands, passionate about brand growth, completely obsessed with this space. So it's been a perfect fit. And yeah, it's a privilege. I do tell my team this every day. We wake up with the mission to connect with parents all around the US. And, that was me just 4 years ago.
Wow. What's the best piece of career advice you ever got?
So many different mentors that I could draw upon. I will say, the best piece of leadership advice that I've gotten is praise in public and criticize in private,
That's good.
because the you are nothing without an A team around you. And I especially now, surrounding myself with an incredibly strong leadership team. And when you are a leader, your whispers become shouts. Everyone's looking at you to drive forward, drive the business forward, drive the brand forward. And it's a privilege to have that kind of impact on someone's life. There was actually a recent study that showed that managers have a greater impact on one's mental health and mental well-being than their spouse, than their friends, than their partners, more than anything. And so I cannot do what I do every day without the people around me. And so that was an important leadership lesson too. Praise in public and criticize in private.
I'm coaching a dozen 8-year-olds for a little league team first time, and so I took like a coach's training,
Yeah.
and it was like it was intense, like 2 days over Zoom. And so this guy, comes out with a book as well. I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure it's going to be great. So the two big things I took away, one was what you just mentioned, right? And the other one, again, this is like 7 and 9-year-old boys, and it's chaos, right? And so how do we just get them rowing in the right direction? And the other one was win their heart at all costs. And so as I talk to my assistant coaches, those are the two things we keep in mind, especially when you're playing. You and I were talking about sports earlier, especially when you're playing a sport where you're going to fail most of the time, right? Swing and miss most of the time. When I asked, I kind of like solicited a lot of dads, coaches, whoever like would kind of answer this question. Even my friends who coach like basketball, I asked like, well, how do get the kids to really listen to you? And they all said basically one form of what you're describing too is once you're able to connect with them, then it's different. But until you get to know them, it's really hard. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah, and I think so much of sports as well as business is drawing on this team mentality and working together. And I think that once you create also that psychological safety and trust within each other, that's when you get these incredible ideas because people are not afraid to speak up and to go out on a limb. And when you are in a position where you have to launch a product in a new way, or you have to create a campaign that's the first of its kind, or you need to respond to unprecedented macroeconomic pressures. You need to do things differently. And I am only one brain,
Right.
but there's several other brains around the room, but we all need to contribute our thoughts. And then that's when you collectively get an output that is impossible to achieve it just as one. And so I really believe in creating that safety and that trust amongst your team. And then if you have a highly engaged team, you will have a high performing team.
I recently had a chance to kind of study the previous CEO from WD-40, Gary.
Mm,
I'm just forgetting his last name. Simon Sinek talks about him all the time.
okay.
And he says, if there's a company that has a blue bottle with a red top that everyone knows about, but it's a pretty boring product, then
Right.
they can create a culture with the psychological safety that you
Mhm.
described. And I think it's possible. It sounds more believable when Simon says it than when I say it. But one of the things Gary would do is he kind of launched this contest, and it was about learning moments. And I think this creates the psychological safety. And the
Mhm.
learning moments are things that you've learned that other people can learn from, but they're also maybe failures, right? But let's learn at the expense of somebody else rather than
Mhm.
everyone failing separately. But
Yep.
he asked everybody to email me a learning moment. And he said at
Mhm.
first, no, like no emails came through because nobody wants to
Mhm.
be ridiculed in public.
Mhm.
But all of a sudden, what happened? He would get like two or three, and he would praise those people throughout the
Mhm.
company. And it made people feel comfortable, like, oh, I can mess up and share it, right? And like it's okay. And so I do think that's, I've been at many companies. I think creating psychological safety. I've had it, but I also have seen when I haven't had it. It's
Yes.
really important.
Yes, and then that constriction happens. You learn a lot from really good managers, great managers, managers that you admire, that you think are smart, and you start talking like them, you start borrowing little phrases, you start following their constructive way of thinking. All of those things are pluses when you are learning by osmosis and right next to a great manager. You also equally remember, and we've all had them, when you have a bad manager and how that toxicity makes you feel and how it seeps into the rest of the organization. And those moments also have taught me so much of how not to behave as a manager and how to handle a similar situation where now I'm in the manager's seat instead of in the team seat, and how I want to approach it differently. So all of these things we draw upon, but it's an incredible privilege to play that role and to be a people manager.
That's awesome. How do you describe what you do now as chief commercial officer?
I get to grow the business and grow the brand in North America. And how do I do that is by working with an incredible team across several different functions and specializations, and making sure that they are all united and spending their energy, their time, their mind space, our budget on the same united goals.
Awesome. What would you say is the hardest part of your job?
I think it can get lonely sometimes when you are at the top of a company, and um, there are times where you have to come into the room with confidence or come into the room with energy when maybe everything around you is giving signals that it's going to be a tough quarter, it's going to be a tough year. And so I have to work really hard to draw upon my own emotions, making sure I'm filling my cup, making sure that I'm remaining optimistic and inspired because everyone's looking at me. And if I don't feel this way, how do I expect them to feel some different kind of way? So I am really hyper vigilant about keeping my own personal board of directors, um, making sure that I'm drawing, hey, how are you think, how would you approach this? And so making sure that I come in with a full battery when I have to lead my team. So that's probably the most challenging part of my role.
Two quick questions there. I've read that like part of filling your cup is like waking up pretty early and working out. Are those still part of the routine to fill your cup?
Oh my goodness. My morning routine is fundamental to me showing up my best at work. So I have a whole routine. It's a whole system now. Like I won't take you through
It's
it because
refined.
it
Yeah.
starts at 5 o'clock in the morning. But I will tell you the most important part of that morning routine is what I call the 3-3-3 exercise. And first thing that I do when I open my eyes is, well, first I drink a big drink of my water. And then the second thing, I sleep with a notebook next to my bed. And I go through this exercise of 3-3-3, and I spend just a few minutes, doesn't take that long, it's not that complicated, but I start with 3 wins from the day before. What were things that like worked out for me? The second three is 3 gratitudes. What are 3 things that I'm grateful for? They can be little things like a joke that one of my kids told at the dinner table, or big things like the health of my parents. And then the last 3 are 3 things that I want to get done that day. And some days that is sitting down and having this conversation with you. Some days they're, okay, do not forget to order the balloons for the birthday party. And the next, if at the end of the day, if I've done those 3 things, I'm like, this was a good day. I did it. So that's fundamental to me, orientating my energy in the right direction. And so nothing is wasted, because when I have this type of job, and then I have all the other demands and all the different categories of my life, I just need to make sure that I am focused on the biggest priorities, and also moving into my day with optimism and gratitude. I absolutely believe in the power of focusing on what I call the green shoots in my life. What are the signals? What are the small things that are going well?
Interesting. Those are the green shoots that you think
Those are the
about?
green
Okay.
shoots. Yes.
Awesome.
Imagine if there's like concrete just growing all around you. Look for the life. Look for the green shoots, the things that are showing you that energy is there, new energy is there, positive energy is there. So that's what I try and focus on.
That's awesome. What would you say is Bugaboo's secret sauce?
The obsession on the parent, on the new parent. Every product that we design, and sometimes it's a multi-year process, it always comes down to, what is this problem that we're going to solve? So if we're thinking about our travel stroller, which is our best selling stroller. It's what we call our hero product. What are we trying to solve here? We are trying to solve for parents to feel confident when they are getting on an airplane for the very first time and traveling with their baby. So extremely stressful. How do we make it just a little bit smoother for them with a faster fold,
Hmm.
with a big underseat basket where they can put everything that they take, way too many things, that we can make it easy for them to fold with one hand because we know that she has her bag and her hat and the diaper bag, and we need to make it simple. So constantly coming back to the consumer at the center. That's another thing that I borrowed at night from Nike is when I was at Nike, we constantly were talking about the new athlete, how could we get them to run faster, train harder? And now that I'm at Bugaboo, we are constantly talking about this new parent who's about to enter the most meaningful but also uncertain time of their life.
That's really cool. Is there any and I'm sure you're like knee deep into this all the time, but is there a misconception that you think is good to point out about the brand?
Mm. I think the brand has in so many ways been the center of the cultural zeitgeist, meaning that celebrities are often seen with bugaboos and really high profile people, and it's definitely touted as a celebrity brand of choice. And for sure that there's that allure and that aspiration. But really what Bugaboo is famous for, and if you were to push one, you know, it drives like butter, is actually what Bugaboo is famous for, and why so many people choose it is because of its emphasis on quality, precision, award-winning innovation. I mean, the way that our product team designs strollers is as if they are sending a rocket into space. Like the obsession to detail is amazing. I mean, it's a multi-year process. And so I really appreciate that, of course, because our internal standards are so high. Our durability tests are up to 7 times higher than even just industry standards and minimums.
Wow.
And so it's this obsession to the detail and to the quality and to the precision is really what I believe that Bugaboo is the fact that so many celebrities also love the brand.
Yeah, it's good to point out, right? So don't just feel like it's only celebrities use it, and it's actually accessible. I was reading a little bit about, I think it was
Yep.
Matt, like one of the co-founders, his name was Max, and
Yep.
had a design background, so sort of rooted in that kind of rocket design framework that you were mentioning.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. So, yeah, our design DNA is rooted in that engineering and that obsession to innovating. And Bugaboo is the category creator. Over 25 years ago, Max, it was a college design project, and then it turned into the the number one global brand when it comes to juvenile products. So it's been amazing to play a small role in this journey.
that's cool. What's been your proudest moment at the company so far in the last 4+ years?
So there's so many different product launches that I'm certainly proud of. I think one of them is bringing the Bugaboo Kangaroo to market. This was the very first stroller that was specifically designed for the American parent in mind. So it started with the insight of parents wanting to buy for their first child, but they also knew, hey, I think I might want to have a second child in the future. So it was built with a modular design that allowed you to
Uh,
place a second seat, however plus months or years when you decide to have your second. And then, by the way, it also has another accessory where if you are a superhero and you have 3 children, all within stroller ages, you can push that thing like a minivan down the streets of New York. So that was a really big moment that I'm so proud of. I think a close second, if not equal number one, is the changes that we've made to our U.S. policy and handbook, extending our maternity leave to be
oh,
that equal to
oh, it froze. Can you hear me okay?
well. Yes, yes, I
Oh,
can.
okay. I think we froze for a second, and maybe we can just. I would love to hear it because you mentioned changes to the like the benefits of maternity.
Yes, follow. aside from
Yeah.
the product launches, which I am so proud of bringing the Bugaboo Kangaroo to North America, it was a missing piece in our product puzzle, are the changes that we've made to our policies, our formal policies. So, for example, extending maternity leave to 16 weeks, which has matched our European counterparts, introducing flexible return to work plans where our teammates come back to work on a part-time basis for 2 weeks, but they're paid full-time. We have
Wow.
a really happy and engaged team. And I really believe that when you have happy, well employees, you get high. We've taken so incredibly proud of that because that when we talk about empowering parents, it's not only that we have as a company.
That's pretty cool. Can you hear me okay? It was frozen again a little bit. Okay. All right. Oh, I think we're back. That's pretty awesome.
I can hear you okay.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
It's back now. That stroller, by the way, sounds amazing because
Okay.
our kids are 2 years apart. They'll be 8 and 10 in the next few days. Their birthdays are pretty close. And
Oh, wow.
I do remember that because we had an up a baby
Yeah.
stroller, and then we're like, well, how do we,
Mm-hmm.
do we need like a skateboard connector, whatever that thing was called back then.
Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
it's crazy how even a few years later, my sister had a kid and they got like a snoo. I'm like, what's a snoo? Like our
Mm-hmm.
kids, one of our kids
Yep.
did,
The bassinet.
yeah. And like one of our kids didn't sleep for more than 60 minutes
Yeah.
for a long time. And so I think she was colic, but it's like the technology for babies changes so rapidly. It's crazy. Like 5 years goes by and you're like, wait, what is that? What does that even do? That sounds pretty amazing. What's the proudest or like the best compliment you ever received from a customer in your time there?
So one of the cool parts of my job is when I'll be at a dinner party, for example, and someone learns that I work at Bugaboo, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I had a Bugaboo, and it lasted me my 3 kids, and it was such a big part of our life. And then I gave it to my sister, friend, neighbor, cousin, and it lasted them for 3 years, or for 3 children. But now these kids are like 18, 15, and 13, but they still remember how fundamental the stroller was and how much it helped them and gave them confidence to move about, go to the grocery store with 3 kids and venture out to the park. And it's not just a stroller, it's where they take their naps, it's their grocery wagon, it is your mode of transportation if you live in an urban city. And so that brings me great pride when, I mean, you have to imagine these are teenagers on their way to college, and then this parent is still, I was a Bugaboo mom. I just, wow, that
Yeah.
as a
Wow.
brand, you don't that lasting power, that staying power, often. And so nobody, I mean, when I was working in shoes, nobody really remembered what shoes they ran in the marathon. So I love that. I love that gratitude and that gratitude and that appreciation and that longevity that the brand has with parents, even years after they're out of the stroller ages. So
It is fascinating for anyone who is a parent and have gone through those experiences. You take it to the zoo, like wherever, right?
yeah.
But having to sell one or give one away, there's this really unique attachment to it that you don't realize
Hmm.
until you're getting rid of it, because all these like memories just,
Oh yeah.
sort of overwhelm you.
I relate with that. So I told you my son was 5 months old when I started this job. So now he's on the way to kindergarten. And my husband was like, it's time. It's time to get rid of the stroller. The boy is like clearing the canopy. He's way too big for this. And I remember just like, oh my gosh, it's such a milestone giving the stroller away. You've moved from baby into child, and what a privilege it is to have a front row seat to someone growing up. But it pained me. We just did that like just a few
Oh
weeks
my
ago.
goodness.
So it was a moment. I'm right there.
One of the main things we were looking for was what's a stroller where we can put our dog underneath and he has enough clearance to be, we put a blanket
Yeah.
there, obviously, but like, yeah, those are the things that I remember most.
Yeah.
I'm sure like we're talking about sports, and I feel like, especially like in sports, you learn more about Like if you agree with me, we learn more from the failures, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
the misses at bat in baseball than we do from the wins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there a setback or failure, just thinking professionally, where man, like we could have done this better? Like, was there something that comes to mind that you learned a valuable lesson from? I'm sure there's a long list, but just one that might come to mind.
Yeah, I think there are certainly several instances that come to mind now that of course, when you have a long career and you collect all these experiences, you're going to collect some L's and you're going to collect some
Yeah.
W's. So
Even
sure,
from yeah, even from Nike, if something comes to mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that sure, there's a lot. And I would say they actually have a common denominator, and the common denominator comes down to miscommunication, whether that's miscommunication in with a partner, miscommunication with my manager at the time. Um, but I think the importance and the power and the strength in being a clear and concise communicator has been the foundation of all my wins. Nailing a presentation, nailing a pitch, nailing the job interview that changed my life, right? To also the times where I'm like, I could have handled that better. I was not clear enough. I did not show up well in that meeting. I was maybe a little bit too harsh, or I didn't show up my best, and or was too long-winded. Um, I didn't follow up properly. Fundamental basis of it is this constant exercise to make sure that you are being clear, you're being concise, even if the message is hard. One of my favorite managers used to say feedback is a gift. Give it and move on. So I think sure, there's been a lot of things that I could have maybe wish they didn't happen, but they actually taught me this important lesson on how to be a stronger communicator in business.
That's cool. Who would you say made the biggest impact on you and your career?
I'll have to send this. I've send this to her if it makes it. I would say my very first manager, fundamental in how my brain processes things like rallying a team, taking the time for people's performance reviews. She was so thoughtful and so diligent to give me the good and the bad that it made me extremely motivated to do well and to deliver. And so
Was that Nike or before?
that was Nike. That was
Okay.
Nike. I mean, I love all my peers and our board and our CEO is phenomenal, great relationship. But I think especially earlier on in your career, when you have a good manager or you have a bad manager, or maybe just a so-so one, that kind of stays with you. And the person who gave me my shot at
Yeah.
Nike, I mean, I was just on the phone with her today. And I mean, how many years ago was that? You know, I call them, they're part of my personal board of directors where I call them up and I'm like, I remember when you managed to fire someone and they actually said thank you. How do you do that? How do you
Wow.
exit someone and they're actually grateful for it? And so those types of examples,
What do you
um,
think it was about her? Like, sounds like she was a great leader.
yeah, phenomenal. I think that she led with this rare combination of um, being extremely confident in her subject matter expertise and being firm in making decisions and when decisions needed to be made, but then also being incredibly empathetic in drawing the opinion of everyone in the room. Okay, let's make everyone feel heard, but then ultimately clarity on the path forward. And I think that that combination of being an expert yet empathetic is rare in business. Haven't come across a lot of managers like that since. Um, I think the Bugaboo CEO now, Adrian Theory, he's another great example of he had to lead this company through the pandemic where a lot of companies had to make difficult decisions. He's one that leads with so much transparency and the epitome of do the right thing and always doing the right thing. All of the sustainability efforts that Bugaboo has taken in the last few years is not because it is good for the bottom line, because it oftentimes those decisions affect profitability. But he is adamant that this is the right thing to do. And when we talk about empowering parents, we don't mean just like the parents of today. We mean the parents, you know, my children becoming parents someday. And so it's great to work alongside someone who also just does the right thing.
That's awesome. Jeanelle, if I asked your team about you as a leader, what would you hope they say about you?
I hope that they say that I lead with clarity and empathy, that I'm a fair leader, and when things get tough, that I always use sports analogies.
Two more questions. Is there a book that comes to mind that's made a big impact on you that you feel like other people should read, fiction or nonfiction?
Two books. So of course I have to go, I'm a big believer in the compounded 1% gain. So I'll, of course, the Atomic Habit and this notion of all the small things adding up. That has been the reason why I've been to where I'm at in my life, is because I don't think there's any job too small and all the little things add up. So I'm a big fan of the compounded 1% gain. Apply it to everything, business, my personal life, how I parent, the little things matter. So the Atomic Habit. The second book that I really draw upon, and I talk about this often when it comes to career advice, is Career Forward. It's written by two incredible women, Grace Puma and Christiana Shi. Christiana Shi was actually one of my very first leaders at Nike. She was the president, the Nike Direct president when I was there. And a great book when it comes to integrating work and life, and how these two women got to the top of their game and being mothers and maintaining friendships, and not this idea of, okay, she's doing it all, but fully committing to the choices that you make and being really great in those areas when you've committed to them. So I also love Career Forward.
Check that out. Last question for you. If you're talking to someone early on in their career, what is one or two pieces of life/career advice that you would impart on them?
Don't underestimate the power of relationships and mentors. So make connections and foster those relationships, because really those are game changers. So grow your network, invest in your network. Think of it as a bank account, right? You are constantly putting in deposits, deposit after deposit. Every once in a while, you'll make a withdrawal and you're glad that you've put those deposits in over the years. So really invest in your relationships. The second thing that I would say, fundamental belief, be consistent. Be known for being consistently good, and that will take you very far. Be reliable. Do what you said you will do. Preferably do it early. Your boss asks for it on a Friday. Deliver it Thursday afternoon. But be known for being consistent will take you much farther than being occasionally great.
Love it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the time. I know you got to run. This was awesome. Do you feel like we missed
No,
anything?
I
You feel like
love
it was
this.
good? Yeah.
No, I think it was good. Is there anything else on your side?
No,
I want to make sure
I
everything you
appreciate
need.
it. Yeah, this was great. I mean, this is the stuff that fills my cup. This is my favorite thing to do in the world. So, and I love that, when you lean into the things outside of just the company that you work for, leadership stuff,
Yeah.
career advice. I will send you my interview with James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits,
Oh
as
my
a
gosh.
after this.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan. I'm a huge fan. Yeah, that book is dog-eared down to the bone, and it's on my nightstand for a reason. Yeah.
I struggled with it. I bought it. I even bought like the Audible just to like try to get it in my head. And I just think it's like the student arrives or the teacher arrives when the student is ready saying, and I finally read it. And I can see why so many people highly value that book. There's so many great lessons in there.
There's so many nuggets. What is your favorite career book?
Oh, well, so my favorite book, I would say it's not a career book, but it's, you talk about gratitude. And it's called The Simple Act of Gratitude. I'll send you a copy if you don't mind. And because I think,
I would love that.
it's right here. So
Okay.
I just ordered it because I was going to gift it to somebody. And my wife is like, she'll see the bulk orders on Amazon. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And long story short is it's about gratitude. But this guy, it's a true story. He's
Mm,
he was an attorney in LA and things were going really south in his life. Like he was on his like second divorce, living in a crummy LA apartment with like no AC, couldn't find anything in
mhm,
his life to be thankful for. And it became this story. Because in Pasadena, New Year's Day, you can't
mhm,
drive anywhere. And he goes on this hike and he hears this voice in his head that says, until you be, thankful, until you're thankful for the things that you have, you won't get the things that you want.
mm,
And it's a beautiful story about how he begins to notice the things in his life that he could be
mm,
grateful for, the small things. And yeah, it's just it kind of taught me how to write thank you cards, and like I track them and
mm,
all those things. And you were saying this earlier, right? About like waking up with gratitude. It's so hard to feel gratitude and be angry at the same time, right?
mhm,
And so
mhm,
to me, it's just something that there's probably two things I do if I'm in a rut. One is go for a run, and the other is
mm.
write a thank you note.
Wow, we must be the same person. I'm going to expand on that because on that note, I'll be honest, it's been a really tough few weeks where I feel completely like, okay, how are we going to get through this? Or like whether it's different things going on in my business life or in my personal life. And if I'm traveling and I don't bring my journal with me, I have a running note that I started in 2020, but
Nice.
it's called gratitude. And I will go through
Wow.
this when I am feeling bad and I'm just like, oh my God, I am so abundant with things that have gone right for me, that are going well in my life, these relationships. And when I just open up this note and I just like on and
I
on and
love that.
on,
That's really cool. That's a great idea.
I
Yeah.
am feeling just abundant. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the end of my list? Because I've just added to it throughout the years whenever I'm on a work trip or I'm on an airplane or I'm sitting in the New York subway. And it gives me this feeling of, okay, I am in the middle of a tough time, but I have the wind at my back. The universe has got me, and um, I will be okay, and this will be fine. And it, like you said, it's impossible to have like a bad mood if you feel grateful. And I very quickly pull myself out of these low moods if I go back to my gratitude list. So,
That's awesome. I love that. One of the things I also love about this book is I would send it to friends and then they would send me a
mm,
picture. I have so
mm,
many photos of my friends and like 5 envelopes that are thank you notes that are about to go in a mailbox. And
yeah,
every time I see those, I'm like, that's cool. Like this is spreading in a very positive way. It ends up as
yeah,
he became a Supreme Court judge in Los Angeles.
wow,
And so it has a good ending, but I do feel like how do we incorporate that? Your morning routine reminds me of another book, which is like a gratitude journal. I'm just blanking on the name, like 3 things that you're
hmm,
thankful for. I think it's such an important exercise that it's so easy to forget and put it to the wayside. So I love this conversation. I appreciate it, and yeah,
me too.
I'd love to send
Thank
you
you.
the book if you don't mind as a
Thank you.
follow up.
No, I
Yeah.
receive I receive that with gratitude and joy. And thank you for this conversation. It's totally filled my cup. And I really appreciate it. It was great to connect with you. If you need anything else, you can connect with the team.
All right. Thanks,
Amazing.
Janelle.